it's Miss Kirsten again. Alright, this video we're going to go over the quiz that we took on Friday. I'm just going to start from the top. So the very first question set was to identify the angle name. So I was looking for the actual name of the angle just itself. So the first one, we have our vertex, our first ray going to the right, our second ray going up. Remember, these are two separate rays that are connected by one single endpoint. Remember, I start from a marker and I go out any way I want. So one vertex and two rays. Alright, this is when I go through and I put in my imaginary 90-degree line. Go straight up. I can see that this is less than my 90-degree line. So this is an acute angle. Remember, cute, tiny, little bitty. Put it in your pocket. Acute angle. That's the first one. Next up, our vertex, our first ray, our second ray. Here's our angle. I put in my imaginary 90-degree line. This is more than 90 degrees, making it an obtuse angle. So more than 90 degrees, an obtuse angle. The last one was less than 90 degrees, making it an acute angle. Alright, next up is the right angle. So we want to put in our imaginary line. I'll have to draw an actual straight line for once, because we know that's a challenge for me. And this is our right angle. So it already has that little square in the corner. That's our big identifier right there. There's that big, huge hint that it is a right angle. It is exactly 90 degrees. Next up, a straight line. There's our end point of both rays. Comes out. Our semicircle, letting us know it's 180 degrees, straight line back and forth. So it is a straight angle. So it's exactly 180 degrees, making it a straight angle. That's from last time. Let's get rid of that. Number 5 was a reflex angle. Our starting ray, our second ray. Notice I'm not turning it. I'm not turning it right now. I'm actually going all the way around. So this is our sign here. And we can put in our 90 or our fake 180 to let us know what we're looking at. So this would be our 90. This is our 180. So it's more than 180, making it a reflex angle. Okay? Remember, at any point in time in these videos, you can always pause, write it down, take extra notes if you want. It's just more practice. The more times you can write it down, the more times you see it, the more likely you are to remember it. And that's what we're going for with these. Alright, so the next set was to identify each triangle. Not the angle specifically, but each triangle. So number 6 was an isosceles. It had two congruent angles. Remember, congruent meaning the same. An isosceles triangle has two congruent angles. And there's my triangle sign. Okay, now also remember, whenever you have a like angle, that means that these two sides are the same. They're not the same as the angle. So if I said this was 25 and 25, that doesn't mean that these two sides are 25. It just means that if I said one of them was worth 7, we'll say, then the other side is worth 7. Alright? We'll go through more examples of that later. Alright, next up is an obtuse, number 7. And on the paper, on your quiz, I pointed out the fact that this angle was 110 degrees. Now remember that an obtuse angle is anything larger than 90 and less than 180. So this right here is an obtuse angle. It's between 90 to 180, making this whole thing an obtuse triangle. Now identifying triangle versus angle they're very important, because this right here, if I drew in my vertexes, each point is a vertex. It's a segment and a segment touching. That's that vertex right there. 2 segments coming to a gathering. It's like Lord of the Rings. We're having a party. We're having a party at the vertex. There's 3 vertexes. In an angle, there's 1 vertex and 2 rays, and they just go on continuously. In a triangle, there's ending points. So when I say to label a triangle versus an angle, if you label a triangle as an angle, it's not the same thing. Next up, number 8. That right there, here's our square, our dead giveaway, that this is a right triangle. That 90-degree sign, again, that little square, whenever we see that square on any kind of shape, that's going to be a 90-degree angle, making it a right angle. And this is a right triangle. 3 endpoints. 3 segments. Okay? Number 9. Now you could have labeled this a couple different ways. We had 40 degrees here, 80 degrees here, and 60 degrees here. Every angle is less than 90 degrees, so that makes it an acute triangle, and a sailing triangle. Okay? And that meaning that all of the sides or all of the angles are different. If every single one is different, then it's also a sailing. If every single one is less than 90 degrees, then it's an acute. So this is 0 to 90, and this is all different. Now this is back in the vocabulary section of the videos, and it's also in the notes that I gave you in class. Alright, 10. A lot of people got confused on this. What I was looking for was vertex. So this is number 10. And what I pointed out was this peak to the triangle, and I wanted to know what this point was. So what is this point? If I'm telling you that it's a point, you shouldn't answer that it's a point. It's kind of contradicting. So I was looking for a specific answer. I was looking for the word vertex. Some people called it origin. An origin is the center of the coordinate planes, which we'll go over later in the quiz. That is not necessarily just the point of the triangle. Alright, so that's the first page. We're flipping over. Now we're on 11. It was to name each item. This is a line. It is a line because it is continuously in the same direction. It's all points inside, and you see it from these little things right here. These arrows on either end. So it's continuous in both directions. Okay, and the arrows are what point that out. The arrows are what let us know that it's a line going back and forth. It has no endpoints. Next up, number 12. Notice the endpoints. They're not arrows. They're actual points. This is a segment. Not a line, but a segment. Because it does not continue in both directions forever. It stops. We'll call this A and B. It stops and starts at A and B. Next up, we have our endpoint, and it continues on in one direction, not both directions, but one direction. So this is a ray. We'll usually see this in angles, but it's always possible to see this on its own. Okay, so if I had a line going from here to here, this, the up and down or the vertical, is a line. But starting point going one way, so notice there's nothing behind it. Starting point going one way is always a ray. So this is a ray. Now if I have two rays, so we're on number 14 now. This is what it looked like. And I wanted you to say that it was called an angle. An angle is two rays with a single starting point or a single vertex point. Some people call this an acute angle. It's still correct because it's still an angle, but I was looking specifically for you to tell me it was an angle just alone. So if I would have said any kind of different angle, you still would have been able to tell me that it's two rays. So an angle is two rays with one starting point. So that's what I was looking for. That's why I wanted you to tell me angle specifically, because I wanted you to see that it's one starting point. So it starts right here at my marker, and it goes either direction. But it starts here, and it's two rays that go out. That's an angle. All right, next, I had two lines crossing, and I made sure to point out this point right here. I wanted you to tell me what is this point. Some people called it an origin. I like the fact that you noticed it was 2 points intersecting, and that's what an origin is as well, but an origin is specifically 0, 0 with an X and Y axis. This is two random lines out in the middle of nowhere that are crossing. In any way, not a specific direction or anything like that. It's just 2 points crossing, which is always called an intersection. Alright, so this point, I want you to tell me is an intersection. Alright, number 16. I had a line with 3 points labeled, A, B, and C. I tell you that AB segment, remember this little tiny line with no arrows on it, is a segment, is equal to segment BC, again with a little line on top. I tell you that AB is equal to 15x plus 5, and BC is equal to 6x plus 32. See that? Okay. So it's equal to 6x plus 32. So since I tell you that AB is equal to BC, and I want you to find the total of the two, so I want you to find AC. So I want you to find this whole thing. So we're going to set AB equal to BC, because I've already told you that they're equal amounts. I'll do my math. I'll subtract my 6x. I'll subtract my 5. to the right. So now I have 9x is equal to 27. X is equal to 3. I plug that back in. And I've got, so I'm going to erase this bottom part now. I've got 15 times 3 plus 5 is equal to 50. And 6 times 3, because I'm just plugging the 3 back into where the x is, plus 32 is equal to 50. And I add the two together because I want the total, so I need AB plus BC is equal to AC. 50 plus 50 is equal to 100. So AC is equal to 100. That's all the time we have for this video, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!